Aratikasova Janavitatavam Jagamaralo. And then the next one, go down there. This one, first you skip it, just go here. Right. Gokulananda Jai. Jaya Jaya Gaurachander Arati Gosova. Yes, sing like this with me, it's good. Thank you. Arati Gosova Jana Vyatayvana Taran Ayamana Loba Jana Vyatayvana Jagamana Lakini Nitzai Chan Bamigidadara. You're doing well. Nikate Advaita Trinaiva Sachatradara. Nikate Advaita Trinaiva Mosaiyache Gaurachanda Ratuna Simasane Arati Korena Brahma Adi Devagane Arati Korena Naraharaji Korori Chamaradulaya Naraharaji Korori Chamaradulaya Sanjaya Mukunda Basu Gosharigaya Sanjaya Mukunda Gosharigaya Sankha Baje Ganta Baje Baje Karatala Sankha Baje Ganta Baje Baje Karatala Madhura Mridanga Baje Paramarasala. Now it will be different. I will do it again. Sankha Baje Ganta Baje Madhur 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 Baje Sankha Baje Ganta Baje Madhur 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 Baje. One more time higher. Sankha baje ganta baje madur 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 baje. Now we can just do Nita Gora Haribol 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 Nita Gora Haribol Nita Gora Haribol 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 Nita Gora Haribol. One more time. Paukochi Chandrajini Vadana Ujvala Paukochi Chandrajini Vadana Gala deshe banamala Kore jalamala Gala deshe banamala Kore jalamala Shiva Shuka Naradare Premi Gada Gada Shiva Sukha Narada Premi Gada Gada Bhakti Vivnoda Deke Gorara Sampada. And then we're good with this. Jaya Jaya Gora Chande Arati Kosoba Jana Vitata Vaniye Jagamana Loba. Same melody. Yeah. Which is what? Yeah, the same. Gaurangera Rotik Shobha Jagajana Mana Loba Gaurangera Rotik Shobha Jagajana Mana Loba Gaurangera Rotik Shobha Jagajana Mana Loba Shobha Jagajana Mana Loba Nita Gora Haribol 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 Nita Gora Haribol Nita Gora Haribol 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 Nita Gora Haribol. Nama Om. Similar melody. Yeah. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine Vishnu Padaya. Okay. Melody fine. Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravan Pracharine Nirvisheshya Shunyavadi Pashyata Deshatarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda Jaya Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Radha Gokulananda, Radha Gokulananda, Radha Gokulananda, Shri Radhe. Jaya Radha Gokulananda, Radha Gokulananda, Radha Gokulananda, Shri Radhe. Jaya Sita Ram Lakshman Hanuman, Jaya Sita Ram Lakshman Hanuman. Jaya Sita Ram Lakshman Hanuman, Jaya Sita Ram Lakshman Hanuman. Jaya Gauranitai, 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 Jaya Gauranitai. Jaya Gauranitai, 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 Jaya Gauranitai. Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Srila Prabhupada. Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Srila Prabhupada. Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jaya Jaya Prabhupada.
Namaste Narasimhaya. Namaste Narasimhaya. Namaste Narasimhaya. Praladayine. Hiranyakashipu Vakshaya. Shila Tankana Kalaye. Hitone Sima Paratone Sima. Yato Yato Yamitato Nishima. Mahia Nishima Hiraya Nishima. Narasimha Hare Sharanam Papare. Sakara Kamala Varenakam Atputta Singam Dalita Hiranyakashipu Tadubringam Kisavadita Narahare Rupaha Jai Jagadish Hare Jaya Jagadish Hare Jai Jagadish Hare Kesavareta Narahare Rupaha Jai Jagadish Hare Jaya Jagadish Hare Jai Jagadish Hare Kesavareta Jaya Nisingare Jaya Nisingare Nisimhare Jaya Nisimhare Jaya Nisimhare Jaya Palatmahara Jaya Palatmara Palatmara Jaya Palatmara Jaya Palatmara Jai Lord Nishimare Bhagavan Ki Jai Palat Maharaj Ki Jai Gaura Premanande Jai Shri
Hare Krishna. No problem, don't worry. I sing very deep, by the way, so if it's difficult, don't worry. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Janavalabha Girivaradari Gopi Janavalabha Girivaradari Yashodanandana Rajajanarajana Yashodanandana Rajajanarajana Yashodanandana Rajajanarajana Yashodanandana Rajajanarajana Yamunatiravanachari Yamunatira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Janavalabha Girivaradari Yashodanandana Rajajanarajana Yashodanandana Rajajanarajana Yamunatiravanachari Yamuna Tiravanachari Yamunatiravanachari Yamuna Tiravanachari Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Srila Prabhupada. Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhu. Srila Prabhupada ki. Om Jnanatimirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Svapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Hare Krishna. So thank you to the devotees for giving me the service of going through the song of Krishna, Bhagavad Gita as it is. Today we shall be going through chapter 4, entitled Transcendental Knowledge, and the text is text 7. So we shall do a quick call and response, go through the purport, and then share a few things of this wonderful purport. Yada yada hi dharmasya Yada yada hi dharmasya Glanir bhavati bharata Glanir bhavati bharata Abhyuta nama dharmasya Abhyuta nama dharmasya Tadatmanam shijamyaham Tadatmanam shijamyaham Yada yada hi dharmasya Glanir bhavati bharata Abhyuta nama dharmasya Tadatmanam shijamyaham Yada yada hi dharmasya Glanir bhavati bharata Abhyuta nama dharmasya Tadatmanam shijamyaham Yada yada hi dharmasya Glanir bhavati bharata Abhyuta nama dharmasya Tadatmanam shijamyaham. Word for word translation. Yada yada, whenever and wherever. He, certainly. Dharmasya, of religion. Glanihi, discrepancies. Bhavati, become manifested. Bharata, O descendant of Bharat. Abhyutanam, predominance. Adharmasya, of irreligion. Tada, at that time. Atmanam, self. Srijami, manifest. Aham, I. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki. Whenever and wherever there is a decline in religious practice, O descendant of Bharat, and a predominance rise of irreligion, at that time I descend myself. Purport. The word Srijami is significant herein. Srijami cannot be used in the sense of creation because, according to the previous verse, there is no creation of the Lord's form or body, since all of the forms are eternally existent. Therefore, Srijami means that the Lord manifests himself as he is. Although the Lord appears on schedule, namely at the end of the Dwapara Yuga of the 28th millennium of the 7th Manu in one day of Brahma, he has no obligation to adhere to such rules and regulations, because he is completely free to act in many ways at his will. He therefore appears by his own will whenever there is a predominance of irreligiosity and a disappearance of true religion. Principles of religion are laid down in the Vedas, and any discrepancy in the matter of properly executing the rules of the Vedas makes one irreligious. In the Bhagavatam, it is stated that such principles are the laws of the Lord. Only the Lord can manufacture a system of religion. The Vedas are also accepted as originally spoken by the Lord himself to Brahma from within his heart. Therefore, the principle of dharma or religion are the direct orders of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Dharmam tu sakshad bhagavad panitam. These principles are clearly indicated throughout the Bhagavad Gita. The purpose of the Vedas is to establish such principles under the order of the Supreme Lord, and the Lord directly orders at the end of the Gita that the highest principle of religion is to surrender unto him only and nothing more. The Vedic principles push one towards complete surrender unto him. And whenever such principles are disturbed by the demoniac, the Lord appears. From the Bhagavatam, we understand that Lord Buddha is the incarnation of Krishna, who appeared when materialism was rampant and materialists were using the pretext of the authority of the Vedas. Although there are certain restrictive rules and regulations regarding animal sacrifice for particular purposes in the Vedas, people of demoniac tendencies still took to animal sacrifice without reference to the Vedic principles. Lord Buddha appeared to stop this nonsense and to establish the Vedic principles of non-violence. Therefore, each and every avatar or incarnation of the Lord has a particular mission, and they are all described in the revealed scriptures. No one should be accepted as an avatar unless he is referred to by scriptures. It is not a fact that the Lord appears only on Indian soil. He can manifest himself anywhere and everywhere, and whenever he desires to appear in each and every incarnation, he speaks as much about religion as can be understood by the particular people under their particular circumstances. But the mission is the same, to lead people to God consciousness and obedience to the principles of religion. Sometimes he descends personally, and sometimes he sends his bona fide representative in the form of his son or servant or himself in some disguised form. The principles of the Bhagavad Gita were spoken to Arjuna, and for that matter, to other highly elevated persons, because he was highly advanced compared to ordinary persons in other parts of the world. 2 + 2 = 4 is a mathematical principle that is true in the beginner's arithmetic class and in the advanced class as well. Still, there are higher and lower mathematics. In all incarnations of the Lord, therefore, the same principles are taught, but they appear to be higher and lower in varied circumstances. The higher principles of religion begin with the acceptance of the 4 orders and the 4 statuses of social life, as will be explained later. The whole purpose of the mission of incarnation is to arouse Krishna consciousness everywhere. Such consciousness is manifest and non-manifest only under certain circumstances. Srila Prabhupada ki. So we can go through the translation, call and response real quickly. Whenever and wherever there is a decline in religious practice, O descendant of Bharat, and a predominant rise of irreligion, at that time, I descend myself. Hare Krishna. So, please accept my humble obeisances. I'm going to try and attempt to share some few things. I mean, Prabhupada's purports are always jam-packed with so much knowledge that trying to condense everything that Prabhupada says is practically impossible. Each and every line is very significant in itself and can be its own independent class. So I will just attempt to share a few things that I've understood from this, my own understanding, which might be very, very much questionable, and so I stand corrected. And then from there we can probably discuss anything else that might seem relevant. So, we understand the whole pretext of the Gita. Arjuna took shelter of Krishna with his own certain concerns. In the first chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna displays some of his doubts. And he has 4 major doubts, which we are all aware of. Or if we're not, Arjuna is thinking about compassion for the people. He's thinking about, sinful reactions. He's thinking about the family and the society. And what else is he thinking about? I've forgotten one. He's thinking about society. He's thinking about sinful reactions. He's thinking about dharma. And there's another one. And happiness. How am I going to enjoy after I'm having to kill? So he has these seemingly legitimate concerns that he raises forth to Krishna. And so Krishna, in the second chapter, smashes them all. He tells him, happiness you receive if you're to die, you go to heavenly planets and you'll enjoy. If you're to remain, you get a kingdom. Compassion, you're having compassion for the wrong thing. It's not really from the body, it should be for the soul. So even if you're killing the body, dehinosmin, yata dehe. What's the other one? Sinful reactions. He's thinking, oh, I'm going to acquire sinful reactions, but you're working under the principles of Dharma because these are instructions coming directly from Krishna, so you're not going to be receiving any reactions for any killing that you're doing here. And what's the last one? Family and destroying and ruining generations. Actually, by you fighting Arjuna, you're going to be saving the families, because the people on the throne, or the person on the throne at the moment, is a blind man who's blind from the dharmic principles. And so he can't be able to lead people to prosperity, so that will actually cause ruination. Remember when Krishna was exiting the planet, what did he choose to do to all his associates and to all the personalities who were connected in his lineage? He made them have discrepancies, and then they killed each other, and they all disappeared as an excuse externally, because he was trying to exit. And so having a person who's going to be causing discrepancies will literally ruin the generations that are to come about. So Krishna literally smashes all these points. And so Arjuna is there like, okay, I'm going to take everything that you have. So in the 4th chapter, Krishna is explaining transcendental knowledge. He's explaining why transcendental knowledge comes about, its significance, what role he plays as a Supreme Personality of Godhead. So he's highlighting that whenever and wherever, yada yada yadharmasya, that there's a decline in religious practices, what does he do? And there's a rise of irreligion, he comes himself. So even I was thinking about it, like the way the world is looking today, what's more rampant, religion or irreligion? Right? Irreligion is much more prominent in the society. So when it says here, Srijami, he descends himself, one can question, well, we don't see Krishna anywhere. But in the purport, Prabhupada started breaking it down and talking about Srijami, meaning that the forms that Krishna really manifests are eternally existent. If you look at in the word, the word toward him, Srijami means manifest. So these forms are actually already there. It's just him revealing them to us at particular times. And we get to understand Krishna's supremacy, that he's coming in his own free will when he sees that it's fit for him to do so. And he takes different shapes and different forms. So in the age of Kali, we might be thinking, okay, Krishna is not here, but actually he's present. He's present in his words, as Gita, Bhagavatam. He's present in his holy name. There's none difference between these things and himself. These are just a form of his incarnation. And as Prabhupada mentioned in the purport, the purpose of his incarnations are to awaken Krishna consciousness within us. If we read in Srimad Bhagavatam, the different personalities who get in contact with the different expansions of the Lord, they recite these prayers affirming God consciousness, basically. When Prahlad Maharaj witnesses Nrsingadev tearing apart his father, he recites these wonderful prayers, glorifying him as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He deems the importance of actually surrendering to Krishna as a fundamental fact. When the Lord comes as Lord Varaha, and he comes out of the nose of Lord Brahma, and he's doing all these unimaginable feats, the personalities are reciting all these different prayers, glorifying the Supreme Personality of Godhead for his inconceivable nature. Why? To attract us to take shelter in a similar fashion. They set a blueprint for us to be able to kind of try to do something. So, at times we might look at all these things and think, man, okay, so how am I supposed to match myself up to these people? But they're setting a blueprint. So in our own individual lives, we work out how can we use these things as inspiration for us to surrender more to Krishna. Our knowledge capabilities are quite minimal. I was talking to Star Prabhu about this verse, and I was saying, because he was saying, okay, Krishna manifests himself. He's not manifesting himself physically because there's Shastra, right? The Vedas is there. The Vedic scriptures are there, Bhagavatam is there. But Krishna appeared in this time, right? And are we saying that Bhagavatam wasn't there? Are we saying that the Vedic scriptures were not there? The Vedic scriptures are there. They were obviously coming through sound vibration. So it's interesting, isn't it? But we understood that he was coming to reestablish and reinforce and resituate the principles. For us who are having it in a written format, by looking at the Bhagavad Gita and the Srimad Bhagavatam, it is strongly justified the significance of Bhagavad Dharma, the significance of surrendering to Krishna. And so Krishna doesn't really need to come in his physical form because he's already here, proving it to those who are ready to listen. To the extent with which we are going to Krishna, he's taking steps towards us. And that's what makes this nice personal relationship exchange that we're having. So wherever there's a decline in religious practices and a predominant rise of irreligion, Krishna appears, he's here. The question is, to what extent are we taking advantage of that association, taking advantage of Krishna's association? I was mentioning it today with the new sabbatical boys who have given some time to Shastra, that Krishna was with Arjuna, side by side. Arjuna had the Supreme Personality of Godhead next to him. But Arjuna was experiencing disturbances. He was frustrated. Karpanya dosho, he was unsteady, everything. Being in a physical proximity with Krishna did not guarantee him protection from his mind. But what guarantees him protection is seeking the information and the understanding that Krishna is choosing to give him based on the Vedic scriptures. And that's the main thing. And so even for us, we have access to all these literatures, we have access to all the books. Prabhupada has worked so hard, slaved himself for us to be able to understand this knowledge in a much clearer detail. It's up to us to take the advantage of how we can understand Krishna much more closer through what we've been given. If one is to study all of Prabhupada's books in grave detail, Star Prabhu mentions that you only learn a book or understand a book after looking at it for the what time? No, 64 times you can understand a verse for the third time. Yeah, so by the time you've read a book for the third time, that's when you're actually reading the book. And then you're unpacking all these different gems, all these different things. So if we're to try to go through and unpack the scriptures that Prabhupada has secured us with his translations and his purports, that's our entire lifetime, you know. And that can guarantee us perfection. They always say, you chant as if you're about to die tomorrow, but you study the Shastras as if you're about to live, you're living forever, guaranteed. You know, and that scrutinizing and, you know, intense study of the scriptures gets us closer to Krishna and gets us to understand what true religion is. Prabhupada explains in the purport that true religion is given by the Lord himself. Why it's difficult for many people in religious practices in this day and age to be fully happy and satisfied in their practices is because a lot of the practices that are being stipulated are manufactured by man. There is no full direct reflection of the knowledge that Krishna himself speaks in what these people present. And so many of their decisions that they're creating are based on social norms, on what's predominant in the society, what's most attractive, and things are being manipulated to fit that social norm. So much so that we deviate from the fundamental facts that the Lord is trying to present. And the Lord, being merciful, still sends representatives to try to guide all these people back. So for example, Prophet Muhammad. For example, Jesus. Jesus is a perfect example Prabhupada always uses. Comes to actually give people a guiding tool by which they can be able to advance in their spiritual life, to get back to them back home eventually. Obviously the difference is with what levels you're trying to move. Are you going to go by bus? Are you going to walk backwards? Are you going to crawl? Are you going to take a jet? Are you going to teleport? That's up to you. And so we can see that we're quite fortunate that we're getting access to information that's coming directly from the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He's giving us the tools in such a clear, concise way, in disciplic succession. It's valid, it's solid, and we can see it being applied by others and them reaping the benefits of following this in such a way that we can actually become inspired to carry on. It's amazing that this practice of Krishna consciousness is not just dependent on the scriptures, but it's also dependent on the people around us and the examples that they're setting by their diving deep. So we become attracted to the principles of Krishna consciousness by seeing how it's benefiting those who are around us and how they're advancing and, the example that they set. And that becomes a tool that builds up our Shraddha as well. We talk about Lokika Shraddha and Shastriya Shraddha. To some extent, we need that. Example from others. And by the time we are getting that validation from the people around us, our seniors, our spiritual masters, Prabhupada, then when we dive deep into the scriptures, we're able to appreciate and develop the Shraddha from the Shastra even more, because we see it manifesting in front of our eyes or our perceivable senses that it actually works. And so then that becomes our guiding tool, And the Lord, another interesting thing that is mentioned here is that the Lord, he chooses whenever he feels like it. So he's not being restricted and being put in a box. And that also affirms his inconceivability and his superiority over mankind. People claim to be God, but they are constrained in a bodily form. They can't transcend this form unless the laws of material nature go through their processes. Otherwise, they're still going to be bound by this form unless they surrender to the Supreme Personality of Godhead and please him to the point where he allows them to transcend it. And get that Jivan Mukta whilst they're still here. But besides that, they're claiming to be the Lord, but they're restricted. But the Lord here is clearly stipulating that he's unrestricted. In the previous verse, which was actually mentioned in the purport, the Lord says, although I am unborn and my transcendental body never deteriorates, and although I am the Lord of all living entities, I still appear in every millennium in my original transcendental form. His form never deteriorates. It's everlasting. It's always chilling. When he thinks it's useful for him to manifest it, he'll manifest it. He's got loads of forms. What we have in Bhagavatam and in the Gita and in different Shastras are just a minute aspect of the multivarious forms that the Lord has. So we understand that he's super powerful, and that's his position. And so anyone who's trying to claim to be of such a nature should be verified also in the scriptures. And that's why you have personalities like Bishak Shane, who, in the pastimes of Bhaktivedanta Thakur, was claiming to be the Supreme Personality of Godhead Vishnu, who came from the ocean of milk. And what was he doing? He was telling the people of the areas, I think it was in Bengal, to give him their daughters. And they're all giving their daughters because they're deluded, thinking that actually he's the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and he's abusing and taking advantage of that power under the names of Krishna. And so this is why at times religion can be seen as a double-edged sword, because people utilizing religion to their own benefits and to their own whims. But we're told to be secure and safe, we have to work by the principles of Shastra. And so all of us can actually see a person behaving in a particular fashion and say, but no, this is not what Shastra is saying. How can you make us understand this much clearly? And their inability to do that will prove that they're actually not the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But he can do it himself because he's the Supreme. Prabhupada says he'll send his representative in the form of his son, or he'll come in with himself in a disguised form. We hear different pastimes. There's this one pastime, and probably I can end with this, of this personality who was writing some scriptures glorifying Krishna. And one of the verses, because he was doing deep meditation, and he was meditating hard and fast, and the meditation he was having internally revealed to him that Krishna is saying that I place the lotus feet of my pure devotee on my head. So he's like, what are you talking about? No, that has to be wrong. Like, Krishna is the Supreme Personality of God. He doesn't place the pure devotee's feet on his head. That doesn't make sense. He places his feet on their head, right? Makes sense. So he stops, and then he stops writing, he closes, he says, okay, I'm going to go take a break, do some chanting. Then when he came back, tried to meditate as well, go deeper into it, but he's getting the same point, that the Lord places the lotus feet of his pure devotees on his head. He gets frustrated and he's like, okay, no, I'm not having this. So then he storms out and he goes to take a bath. He tells his wife, okay, I'm going to take a bath. His wife cooks. He's preparing some boga to offer to the Lordship so they can have some prasadam later on. So it's custom in India that the wife will not eat without the husband. Or the husband will eat first, then the wife will be able to have a meal, especially if she's a cook. The cooks do this as well. And so the husband has gone to the shower to take a bath. Probably it was in the river or somewhere else. And then all of a sudden, the husband has come back. He sat to the wife. The wife offers the husband food, eats, goes to the table, writes, and then says, okay, I'm going. And then leaves. After around half an hour later, the actual husband comes and he's seeing his wife on the floor cleaning up the scraps of food. It's like, what's going on? Crazy woman. How are you doing this? This is undharmic. And the wife's saying, what are you talking about? You came, you sat down, I fed you, you relished the food, you were so pleased with it, you sat down onto your desk and you wrote. And you did your writing and then you left. I don't understand how you could come and speak to me in this way, Hare Krishna. And he's like, what do you mean? This doesn't make sense. And then when he goes to sit down and look at his desk, he sees the same statement that Krishna places the feet of his pure devotee on his head. Then he realizes, Krishna actually manifested himself to deliver this message. It's amazing, huh? And that's there's a book I think called Samadhis of Vrindavan that has all these different pastimes. A really nice book. And there's another pastime I can probably share this on as well. Of even how he manifests himself in his deity form and actually does activities. There are a few stories. They're usually quite interesting. So if you get a chance, you can always look at the book. I think we have one in the ashram. This lady was with their husband and they were trying to fix their thatched roof. And so the husband was at the roof and, the lady was passing the husband like all the thatches to fix the roof. And then she's passing, but she's doing it pretty slow and he's getting frustrated. So she decided to step out for a little bit to chant, And he was chanting the names of the Lord, like he was just singing constantly. So as he was singing, all of a sudden thatches are coming, and he's speaking, and then by the time the wife has come back, the roof is done. So he comes down from the roof and he's saying, oh my dear wife, thank you so much. I don't know what got into you. You are giving all this, all these thatches for the roof so fast. I was able to complete it really quickly. So it's amazing. And she's wondering, what are you talking about? I left. And then they go into the room that they were fixing, and the Lord had actually moved, and they could see that the decorations on the Lord had actually stumbled because the Lord himself came and helped. So Krishna has the ability to manifest himself in multivarious ways. Not limited to those that we understand in Shastra, because he has the freedom. But then he also highlights, that for us to understand someone who claims to be the Supreme Personality of Godhead, they should be coming in accordance to the Shastra, inspiring us in accordance to Krishna consciousness. What's the main basic principle that's also being encouraged here is for us to get to a platform where we can perceive these things properly. And Prabhupada does mention Varnashram Dharma as an important aspect that can help us understand our positions or understand the essence of spiritual life. And so a place where Varnashram Dharma is non-existent is definitely a place where undharmic behavior is manifest. So we can understand that even in Krishna consciousness, as much as we're not getting the plain basic definition of Varnashram Dharma, we're getting a formal Varnashram Dharma that's able to allow us to practice and serve with intensities that suit our personalities, even with our mixture of categories and abilities, and be able to find out what works best for us as individuals to serve the Lord. And so you'll notice even with yourselves as you're practicing, you'll find that your intensity works well with certain things. And to some extent, you are identifying what your dharma is. You're identifying what your position is, what things that you can do, let's say from a swadharma perspective. And then you're going to try to utilize that and make it your sanatan dharma to serve the Lord. And so if we take to Krishna consciousness, take shelter of Prabhupada's books, we can be able to experience these things properly, understand ourselves fully, how we can be able to serve the Lord, and then from there, get to Krishna. Hare Krishna. Thank you so much. I don't know if anyone has any questions, comments, clarifications, corrections.
One thing I was just wondering about why 3 times reading books?
Pardon?
Why do we have to read books 3 times to understand? What's the justice?
That at least 3 times, because there's so many hidden gems that are within the book, that you don't really get to identify them all immediately at the beginning. So he said at least 3 times, but then you find personalities like Shiva Maharaj who've read all the books how many times? 50 times minimum. Yeah, Gita, Bhagavatam, CC, read them 50 times and he's still carrying on. and each time still getting loads of realizations. I was telling even the guys in the group today, you could look at the first verse of the Bhagavad Gita. And at the beginning, like I remember the first time I read it, I was just thinking, oh, this blind guy is asking, what's going on this other side of the battlefield, Sanjay? Tell me what's up. But then the more I went back into it, a lot of things had to manifest. To the point where you can literally, you have so many principal things. The blindness of Dhritarashtra and what the name of Dhritarashtra actually means. Sanjaya and his abilities and what that actually stipulates. The whole aspect of them talking about dharma, this distinction between my sons and the sons of Pandu, when Pandu had already left, and so they were actually supposed to be like one unit, So many things can come up, but you won't find these things in your first read. Most probably not even in your second read, most probably not even in your third read, but the more you go at it. So he just says 3 times minimum to kind of get to uncover a lot of the principles that are surpassed there, but really I don't think there's a limit. Because these people as well, they're reading, Shiva Maharaj still. Like I remember one time I was on a call with Devamrita Maharaj, and they've been going through Bhagavatamrita so many times. But then this time, Shiva Maharaj is sending an email to Devamrita Maharaj, and Devamrita Maharaj receives it as we're having the call. And he said, oh, we're just rereading this book, and Maharaj just wrote back to me saying it's nectarian. And this is probably the nth time that they're reading this book, but they're finding nectar. There's new realizations that are coming about from the verses. Like what I spoke right now was literally what I've been able to understand from reading the purport. But if we're to go through this purport again, there's so many other concepts. He spoke about, the levels of understanding of the Lord. That the Lord will, have one principal agenda and make it work like he did with Lord Buddha. That's the Lord's understanding nature. We haven't even spoken about that yet. But that's also another valid point that can come out from this also. So there's so many things, isn't it, that can kind of be crept up. And so we have to keep on studying till we die. Jai. Anything else? Hare Krishna. Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Jai. Go back to Vrinda ki jai. Apologies, guys.
No.